In this video, I'm going to show you how I set up my file structure when I come back from a shoot regarding video. I'm going to show you what I put inside the folders, how I set my folders up, and how I could take these SSDs on the road with me, whether I'm on a laptop or if I'm going to use a different Mac or a different computer, because all my files are on here and they are set up in a way that I can edit from anywhere. What's going on, everybody? I am Jay. I am a creative entrepreneur here in the Atlanta area and owner of J.August Media, where we believe that every creator has the right to showcase their work. So today I'm going to go ahead and take you into my computer, into my Finder, a used Mac, and show you exactly how I set up my file structure when I'm going through and making sure I'm organizing everything so I can use these files later to edit out a project, and how I pull from footage and just make sure that I always have access to the footage, because we all know the download folder is not where it's at. All right, so we are in my Finder right now. I love the dark mode when it comes down to my Mac. And I'm just gonna point you guys into this corner over here. This will actually be my SSD that I just showed you guys 2 minutes ago. I'm gonna show you how I come in and I set up all my footage. Now, this is one project that I was working on, and this is a company out here that I do work for. Generally right here, don't get overwhelmed, but I set everything up in a certain way. I make sure that each file or each shoot has an individual folder, or all the footage, if it's one shoot, goes into one general folder, and you do not have to worry about it going anywhere else, okay? So first off, we're gonna just start with, because this was multiple shoots that we did, let's start with May, okay? So we're gonna go to the month of May and make sure to break it all down by month to verify that I know exactly where the footage is based off the script, based off our shot list, where I could find that footage for later when I need to pull it into something else. So we're gonna go into May, and the first thing I do, once I get all the footage in, I make sure to pull everything. I mean everything from each camera. If I had 3 cameras, if I had 2 cameras, I pull everything regarding footage and audio all into one folder. And I'll go into my backup process a little bit later, but I want to go into just how I pull in the footage. Okay, so I go in and I make folders, because again, I want to make sure that I know what camera shot what. Was it a wide? Was it a tight? And also the audio from that. So let's go back into my screen here. Okay, so if we go into the footage here, you'll see that I have all my folders here, breaking down the cameras. So I have my tight angles, I have B-roll, because we shot B-roll as well. And I also made sure that I had a wide angle, because we were conducting interviews. So we had a tight and a wide. The wide was showing both participants or all participants. And that tight shot was like getting those pick-off shots that I need once that one person is talking, that we could get a nice tight close-up shot on them when we're editing later, because the whole point is to shoot for the edit. All right, so I made sure to keep all my files into each folder, and then I will pull in anything that I may need. Let's say, for instance, we had a one-off in the script, we needed to break down certain introductions for certain parties, and we shot that separately. I made sure just to put that in a separate file, because again, I may want to just have those separate so I could edit those and export those to the completed folder. So those are all done, and it makes it life so much easier just pulling that one file in rather than searching for a file or searching for the footage inside the entire edit. It just makes everything messy. I just can't deal with messy. So I will go ahead also and make an audio file. Even though I use the Rode mics, I still pull in the audio from the mic itself. Yes, it's going directly to the camera. Yes, this is redundant. However, what if you lose the footage from the camera? What's going to happen from there? You still have the audio. I mean, that's your saving grace at that point if they're doing a podcast, but at least you didn't lose both. Even though the footage, I mean, the audio is baked into the camera, which is great, you still want to have that just in the event that you need to do something later, or you need to clean it up a little bit more. You have that rich audio from that Rode mic that you could just pull into a audio editing software and kind of clean it up from there. Again, you could do this on the camera as well, but anything could go wrong. You could have it to where it's coming into the camera too hot, based off an error that you or your assistant makes. But you still have the audio where we can sync it together, and it's clean audio going directly into the Rode. And again, I use those little Rode wireless mics, and I just hook up a lav to it, run it in the back of the shirt, and make sure we get some clean audio. So let me take you back over here, okay? All right, so we go into the audio file. As you can see, we have all our recordings from here. Usually I go in and label all the recordings out, but in this case here, I did not need to use this audio or these files. I just pretty much just have it there just in the event that I'll need it later because it's being backed up. All right, so this is my footage folder. Again, footage, what goes in here is going to be my clips, my video clips, and also my audio, and any other type of clips that we may have that we just need one-offs of that I shot as well. All right, so let's kind of go back out just to here. So if we go back into May, we have our footage. So that's our overall arch as far as where we're going to keep it. Again, this was a shoot over the course of about 3 months. There would be more inside here, but I just kind of kept it all together. The next thing that I do is make sure that I have my sound effects folder, and this is for the editing portion. I have it added in there as well. The reason why, even though I have a different folder set up on my desktop that has all sound effects in there, at times, and this may happen if you're in an edit, you're speeding through, you're trying to just get it done. There's likelihood that you may leave something in a download folder. And then later on, when you move it to a different computer, guess what? You may have forgotten to copy it from one computer to another. Even though all the sound effects I usually keep on a file or on a folder on my desktop, you just never know. Things happen in the heat of an edit that the process that you do follow, or if you're just starting, you may not follow it that well, you could forget. So I still have a sound effect folder just in the event that I pull something in, I'm on the road, that I can pull it back into my main folder on my main computer later on. Okay. So I still have the sound effect folder, and these are all the sound effects that are used inside the edit. And I make sure to keep it here because there's nothing worse than pulling up an edit on a different computer and you get that red screen from Final Cut. And that is by far one of the worst feelings, especially when you're trying to like truck through an edit. Okay. So I have a sound effect folder and keep everything inside there. Now, if this is a project that you're going to be working on over the course of a year or the next 2 years, it's always good to have it because every time you back this up, everything remains the same. Everything is all compiled together and you can easily pull from there. Okay. The other thing I do when I'm working on the edit, being that I do not have these files anywhere else, they're going to be saved on this one particular solid state drive for editing purposes for this project or these over the course of these projects, I have the stock footage. Now, many times what may happen, you set the stock footage up and you have it in your download folder, you pull it inside the timeline, and you may forget to go back and actually just have that stock footage saved in a place where the computer could always read it or your project library could read it. So I just make a separate folder, stock footage. It downloads when I download it from Artlist or wherever I'm downloading it from, and I automatically move it. I copy it from the download folder directly to the stock footage folder. Why? Because it's the redundancy and it's going to make sure that every time I pull up this project library from any Mac computer running that version of Final Cut, it's going to have that same path. It's going to know where to find it. The hard drive doesn't change, just the computer changes. So that's how editors could get away with moving this from one computer to another computer to another computer. Or if several people are working on it, let's say, for instance, say, hey, I'll work on cutting it. You work on putting it together and polishing it. If you want to give it back to me, I could throw some text on there if you're working in a team situation. There's other ways to do it. I understand that. Save me in the comments. I totally understand there's processes and platforms out there that you can work as an editing team. But this is not based off that. This is based off people who are kind of just starting off, or you're running a production company and you're not to the point where you have 40 or 20 or 30 or even 10 people working for you at this time. It could be just you and 3 or 4 of your editors. Okay. So just keep that in mind. This is not a video based for the advanced. This is a video just if you're just entry level or you just need to find out some standard operating procedures when it comes to setting up your file for a good edit. Okay. So taking you guys back here, you see here that we have all of our stock footage here. You could play it. And again, this is what you want to make sure that it's all of these assets are inside this folder. The other thing that I make sure to do is include anything as far as any type of scripts that you may have. I like keeping it all in one place rather than going back and forth on emails, because if it's one place, you could be completely locked out of Wi-Fi, so you could focus in on all the things that you need to do, and you don't really have to leave. You don't have to leave Final Cut. You just have to go to the Finder and pull it up, but everything is centralized on that one computer. The other thing that I make sure, excuse me, to do is the music. This is huge. How many times have you downloaded music only to find out if you move it somewhere else and you download it and you don't move it to the folder to where it's going to be pulling from, you're trying to play the track, you can see everything, you can see your edits, you can hear the audio from the cameras, but you have no music. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing when it boils down to like this stock clips or the stock footage, also the stock photos and everything like that. You want to make sure that you pull in the music to the folder. Can't stress this enough. So again, as you can see here, this is over the course of several edits, and you can see we have several tracks because we're using different tracks for each type of video. Sometimes we may mix them to kind of give a unique sound to the video, but as you can see here, we have several tracks that we use when editing the video. The next thing I'll do is pull in any assets that the client provided. Here are their screenshots. For some odd reason, my computer couldn't pull up what they provided. It was really odd, and I didn't want to slow things down, so I screenshotted it. Being that it was a brief introduction to these things, I was able to screenshot it, and I have the images here that I could just drop in Final Cut because it was high enough quality to make sure that nothing looked kind of janky on the 4K edit. The last thing I want to show you guys what I do is a pre-cut for approval. So here, I completely understand. Again, there's programs out there you could put video clips up there, like Vimeo has that, where a client can log in and kind of go through and comment on certain things. Even Google Drive has that as well. They can kind of comment on certain points inside the video and say, hey, make edit changes to this. I understand that. But again, this is not based off those programs. This is more based off an internal file structure, which you can use if, again, you're not a huge team or if you're just starting off. Again, this is more on the lines of trying to get you into that flow of saving your files correctly so you can edit efficiently later on. So in this case here, I have here my pre-cut for approval. And with this pre-cut, I just make sure to add a timeline here. I didn't want that to there we go. I just want to make sure that I add in a time code here so the client can kind of like skip through. And if the client needs to say, hey, at 3 minutes and 43 seconds, we can make a move from here, or we could cut this portion out because we don't need that. All right. So the other thing I want to go back in and kind of show you guys is once I'm done editing things, I like to make my folder called the completed folder. I don't like to have anything else anywhere. I don't want it on my desktop. I don't want it in my computer. I don't want it on documents on my computer, in my video folder. I want it all on a hard drive. The reason why I want to make sure if I'm out or if I'm out of town or if I'm not at my location where I normally edit, if I'm on my laptop, I get a call or I'm doing a conference and we're going over certain things, I'm taking notes, that I could actually pull up my laptop, plug my hard drive in there and kind of get right to work wherever I'm at. So in this case here, you could see here that I have my completed videos. I also have my completed B-roll because this is the one thing that I like to pull from. I'll go more into details about this 30 frames per second. And this right here will be 24 frames per second. I always save them different because you never know when you're going to need it. Some cases you may not need a 24 frame per second clip. You want a 30, or even some cases I save it as a 60 so I can have all those different assets that I can use later, or if the client can use later, if they need some footage that they need to be pulled for trade shows, or they need to be pulled for reels, or they need to be pulled for any type of short, or they need something working on any of the screens that they have inside their office. Just save them while you can. Save them now. So later on, if they just hit you and just say, hey, within our monthly agreement, I think we just need to move this to this. Do you have access to that? Yes, you do, because you've already done it on the front end. Okay. So the other thing I want to make sure to show is the completed videos. Now, one thing I make sure to do is save everything consistently. I know right here, these had to be some late night edits right here and right here before I put the number sign in there. But for the most part, I try to save everything consistently so it could be searched really easy. And I don't have to worry about like, man, where is this? Where did I put this? It's all in numerical order. So this 7 should be down here. This 8 should have been down here. But again, those hashtags, they're actually throwing it off. Once I send these out and I have feedback, I wait for the feedback to come in. And then from there, even though it's uploaded to their folder, whether it be Google Drive, Vimeo, whatever the case may be, if there's a change, I still save the original file. I do not get rid of it because you never know. It may be changed, and then later on to say, hey, you know, this person's no longer working there, even though I know we took them out, or this person came back from work and we took them out. I still like to have the video. I don't want to delete anything. So then I'll go back in and make what we call is a version 2 or V2 file. And as you can see here, only 2 of the videos came back that they needed some adjustments to. And I'll make a new video. When I save that, it'll be under V2 on the folder that they have. So that's my file structure when it comes down to that. Let's see what else here. Everything gets saved to one file, including the optimized media and my proxy files. Now, I would tell you, and this is completely off topic here, I use Mac, as you can know, as you can see, I use Mac, and the computer that I had and I did most of my videos with was a MacBook Pro. It was the last version of the Intel processors, and it's an i9. It's like a beast. This thing is a beast, and it costs a pretty penny. Just going to say that, but it's a pretty penny. It's an i9, 64 gigs of RAM. Like, this thing was hammering through footage, hammering through. But again, I always found out that I had to use in a proxy format because the files were just big, even though I know more codecs are coming out to where it's accepting more things. And then I started shooting more in ProRes, and then that eased up a lot where the computer wasn't screaming when it was trying to render or export. However, I then switched to a Mac Mini with the M2 Pro processor and with the Apple Silicon, and it is like night and day. It is insane what this computer can do. I don't even make proxy files anymore. Just don't need to. And that's insane. It actually is. So I would say if you are looking for a computer in the market of it, and you're probably going to be set up more at home, definitely the Mac Minis are nothing to overlook. These things are a beast. Like, I cut through this footage, and this is this footage was huge. But it cut through the footage, no proxy files, no specialized media that I had to use. It was straight cuts, straight from the camera. And I was whipping through this stuff, cutting things up, adding all kind of transitions and animations, not even skipped a frame. So that's something to consider. So I was going over the Proxy Media and the optimized files. I just make sure everything's saved within the same folder that, again, I'm working on with these SSDs. I want to make sure it's all on the same page. I don't want to recreate proxy files if you're not using one of the Apple Silicon computers. I don't want to recreate anything. I want it to be all in this one folder so it can pull from that one hard drive. This was the biggest game changer for me when I was trying to become more efficient with the multiple of videos that I had to create for clients. And that was by far one of the biggest things that I found out that I needed to do, was make sure everything was in one place. One place. If it's in one place, it'll make your life easier. I mean, I need to kind of come up with some type of model for that. All right. So let me take you guys back in. So that would, in essence, pull from everything from this one SSD here. The other thing I want to mention as well was animations. Clients, I have them provide over animations, or we make different animations or motion graphics when it comes down to the project that we're working on. And I just like to save it inside here. So again, it is pulling from that one folder. It's not pulling from a download folder. It's not pulling from a folder that's on my desktop. It is pulling from that one folder. So that is key. Let's see here. I think that was it. So again, outside of all of the files that we're saving, and the music and the pre-cuts and the scripts and the slide images, sound effects, everything, just make sure that that project file is saved within the main folder. Again, you see there's 1, 2, 3 project files. I could have saved everything as one project file. However, if I'm only working on a certain amount of videos, I don't want to make my computer pull from multiple files or have multiple files within one library. I want to make sure that I'm working on the specific videos that I need to work on without footage being jumbled inside and just like completely causing disarray in the organization that I'm trying to keep when I'm inside of edit. The biggest part about editing is making sure that you are remaining in a consistent process. If you have that process down, you're not wasting valuable seconds or minutes searching for anything. If at any given time a client sends assets to me to be included in the video, before I even respond to the email, I make sure that I have time to respond to that email. And when I mean time to take the file that they sent, or they sent a Google Drive link or wherever it's coming from, and I have time to move it into the master file, what I'm working on. Because you may click on the email and then later on when you're in the edit or you're looking through the script and you realize like, oh man, I don't know where that's at. And then you go searching for it. You're just completely destroying the creative vision or the creative zone that you're in, because now you're aggravated trying to find out that one email over the course of so many emails. Like, where did I put it? There are programs out there that you can use to house everything. But sometimes files are big and you don't have the bandwidth to house those files in those online programs. We've tried it. Yes, I know it is. If there is one out there, please let me know. Definitely leave it in the comments, because that would be beneficial for me as well. Outside of that, again, just make sure you have the time so you can remain strict on what you're editing. So when you're in a particular edit, because guys, you're going to have more than one. It's not just going to be one edit or one client you're dealing with. You're going to be dealing with multiple clients. So if you could have that one SSD or hard drive dedicated to that one client, you know, everything that they sent you isn't within that one SSD. You could just pull it, pop it in, and you can kind of be editing off there, smooth sailing, be in your creative flow, get it all done. All right. So lastly, as you see here, we have the July, we have May, and we have June. So those are the 3 libraries that I have. And again, these are all housed within this one main file that you see right here. All right. So this is how I set up and how I've been using my file structure for the last 10 years. I used to color code everything, but I found that took a little bit too long. So I don't do that anymore. I just make sure that everything is meticulously placed inside the folders that they need to be in. And if I download anything, I stop, I move it to the appropriate folder so you're not looking for it later. So you can remain creative and remain to the point where you're pumping out some high quality edits and content. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Just make sure you like and subscribe or share this video with somebody that you know that's just getting into editing or in the process of editing, or maybe they're a little bit more advanced, but you may find them struggling with these couple of things and like always constantly looking for things, or you accidentally had something on one computer versus another. Share it with them. You never know if it may help them. Again, my name is Jay with J.August Media, and I'm a creative entrepreneur here in the Atlanta area, where we believe that every creator has the right to showcase their work. Just remember, keep posting on social, because you never know who's looking for you, and they will never find you if you're not posting to remain relevant and to show others that you're in the business to be doing business. Until next time, guys, keep those cameras clicking. See you later.